Hello everyone, my name is Timothy Nunan, and I am the Professor of Trans-Regional Cultures of Knowledge here at the University of Regensburg. And I'm here today with a guest and colleague of mine, Dr. Dani Nassif, to talk a bit about a project that we'll be carrying out this coming winter semester through the support of the UR Fellows program here at the University of Regensburg. The project is called Writing a History Without Documents, using literary and creative sources to write the history of post-conflict societies. And broadly, in this project, we're really interested in looking at how people from countries that have been racked by civil war or foreign invasion, in particular in the Middle East, have come to terms with that traumatic past and tried to write a history, often in the absence of official documents or in the absence of archives. So countries like Lebanon, which was engaged in a civil war from the mid-1970s until the early 1990s, or Iran and Iraq, which fought one another from 1980 to 1988, or indeed Afghanistan, which was involved in a war against the Soviet Union from 1979 to 1989. These societies all have very different histories, all have extremely different documentary landscapes, but they're united by the fact that they were involved in conflicts throughout the 1980s, and in many regards are still trying to process what happened then. So, Dani, I'm really pleased to have you today, and I thought we would just have a brief discussion for people to introduce you and to introduce the project and some of the aims. Yeah. So, Dani, maybe if you could start just by telling us a little bit about yourself, some of your interests, and what brought you to the University of Regensburg in the first place.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Dani Nassif from Lebanon. I have a PhD in Arabic Studies from the University of Münster in Germany, and I have a relatively extensive experience in teaching and research across different academic institutions in the Middle East and Germany now. I was born during the Lebanese Civil War that ended when I was 11, I think 12 also, which maybe explains my choice of writing a dissertation about memory, trauma, cultural productions in post-war Lebanon.
Yeah.
The dissertation was very well received by my supervisors and the committee of professors, and who agreed on giving it a summa cum laude, and it will be soon published as a monograph with Palgrave. I've also published other scholarly articles about the topic in English and Arabic, and I was a member of several research groups. One of them is Contested Amnesia and Dissonant Narratives at the University of Zurich. I also work as a freelance copy editor, and I'm a referee at the leading peer-reviewed journal in the Arab world, Alif.
Yeah.
So the way I came to Regensburg, right after my defense, I got a job offer to join Professor Jenny Österle at the University of Regensburg, the Medieval History Department, where I now act as coordinator of a big joint project with two Iraqi universities. And this is where I was put in direct contact with Iraqi historians and history professors, with whom I eventually developed a kind of series of discussions about the Iran-Iraq War that took place in the 1980s in parallel to the Lebanese Civil War.
Yeah.
And there I could see the common events between the two wars, but also the differences in the cultural and political context. And so the result was new questions that I was confronted with. I had just finished my dissertation, and now I have new questions related to my topic, which I am hoping to address with this UR Fellows project.
So for context, part of the one of the really exciting parts about the UR Fellow programs is it allows professors like myself to teach and develop courses with non-tenured faculty at the university like Dani. And indeed, we're using that to good effect for this project, because we will be teaching a seminar this winter semester of 2023-2024 in Regensburg titled Trauma and Cultural Production in Post-Conflict Societies, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and Lebanon. And it'll address many of the questions and themes that Dani just addressed. How to connect the history of these conflicts, which took place at the same time and often involved many of the same actors, but whose histories I think have just begun to be rewritten on a national level and hardly yet on this kind of connected level. But Dani, maybe you'd like to tell us a little bit more about what you see as some of the goals of the course and the project more broadly, or perhaps what you're looking forward to the most as we teach this class over the next several months.
For me personally, I'll talk about the course.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think the course will help me rethink many ideas. When you teach something, then you reflect on it even more, because you need to not only to understand, but you need to process the information and get feedback, the unexpected feedback from students. So it will help me reflect on the project more. The project itself will examine the possibility of investigating the histories that have remained unaddressed from the Lebanese and Iraqi experiences by looking at interdisciplinary memorial practices in cultural productions, while bearing in mind that both wars ended without reconciliation plans. So the project aims at producing methods that historians can use to interrogate art, literature, and popular memory as sources for writing histories such as the Lebanese Civil War and the Iran-Iraq War. So by putting notions from the Arabic-speaking cultural and political context, and academic context certainly, in dialogue with others from the Western scholarship, the project partakes in an unconventional debate on memory studies, making interventions that transcend the focus on Europe at the geographical and conceptual level, particularly with respect to the well-researched notions of acts of testifying and bearing witness.
I think this just you're getting me excited talking about it. I think like one real strength that we have here in Regensburg are professors and specialists on European memory in particular, things like public history, historical reenactment, and the university also has, it bears mentioning, a cooperation agreement with the memorial around the former concentration camp in Flossenburg near the border with the Czech Republic. And I think Dani's project is a really rich opportunity to engage in conversation with students around those professorships and people interested in these German or European debates. There's been a lot of discussion recently about the concept of multi-directional memory, and in recent years there has been controversy surrounding, say, the Documenta Festival in Berlin about how and when different experiences of extreme violence, be it genocide or the Holocaust or slavery or colonialism, can be compared to one another or juxtaposed to one another. And yet, at least from my perspective, it really seems to me like there hasn't been enough work yet on how European or German experiences of mass violence, displacement, disappearance, etc., can be brought into conversation with the Lebanese experience, with the Iraqi experience, perhaps also with the Iranian or Afghan experiences. So I think we'll have a lot of food for thought as we work our way through the 1970s and 1980s in this class. And yet, I would be remiss if I were not to mention that we're not just teaching a class, but we'll be holding a conference in Regensburg as well early next year. So, Dani, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that and what your hopes or ambitions are for that event.
Yeah, so in preparation for the event, so before we hold the conference in January 2024, I will be visiting Lebanon for a research trip to collect material about the Civil War disappeared. So this will be one central point in the project. There I will consult the archive at the American University of Beirut and the documentation. And I will be conducting interviews with a member from the Committee of Enforced Disappearance, a well-known filmmaker, Lebanese filmmaker, who is interested in the case. and a historian who has long written about the topic. Then, in Regensburg, in addition to co-teaching the course, we will be organizing this conference in January, where we'll be putting elite historians and academics in conversation with artists and filmmakers. The main focus will be Lebanon and Iraq, but then we will also have people talking about the German experience as well as the experience from Latin America.
Yeah.
And hoping that this bringing all the people together will help me answer some of the questions in relation to Lebanon and Iraq.
Yeah.
Maybe I can share some questions with you.
Yeah, of course.
So, for example, how can invisible histories of war experiences be identified in post-conflict societies like Lebanon or Iraq? I mean, how can we, especially when there's no reconciliation plan, how can we identify such histories and experiences? How should historians deal with cultural productions in such societies, with art, with literature?
Yeah.
What do we do with this material that try to speak about what cannot be spoken about?
Yeah.
What strategies of concealing and revealing are used by Lebanese artists, Lebanese and Iraqi artists in this respect, and historians?
Yeah.
And finally, what characterizes the Arabic-speaking academic discourse? How can it benefit from the Western experience and theories while avoiding falling for a Eurocentric narrative?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to the conversations that we'll have in January. And I think Dani is too modest to mention that one hope of this project, and indeed the workshop, is to give us a really strong base from which to apply for a position for him associated with the professorship for trans-regional cultures of knowledge. So our hope at the end of this project is to not only have taught the course, not only to have done the workshop and learned a lot, but also on the basis of that knowledge and those conversations to be in a position to put together an application for a longer-term position for Dr. Nassif here at the University of Regensburg. And for that support, I think it's fair to say we're both very grateful to the UR Fellows program. So, Dani, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just want to thank you so much
Yeah.
for hosting me today, and I'm excited about what's to come.
Great.
The discussions and the classes, and thank you.
Sounds great. Well, yeah, if you have any questions about the project, please feel free to reach out to us. Information about the project and how to reach us should be in the video details. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to teaching this class with you, Dani, and to doing the workshop. And here's to a successful UR Fellows project.